All right, so today we'll get introduced to our lesson number 7, which is using SQL into SAS. So, of course, it's just an introduction which you'll be saying it here because we are going to learn in detail about SQL programming into SAS environment, where you'll be into your advanced programming. Once we finished with your base, we'll start with advanced. So there we do have a separate module of SAS SQL, which you people will get more in detail about the programmings and about the concepts and various techniques into SQL also. But here it's just an introduction that how as a SAS programmer one can at least write SQL programs within SAS environment. So we'll see what SQL is and we'll see how one can join tables in SQL. So before working with this, let's understand what SQL is. So SQL actually it stands for Structured Query Language. See the topic here it's telling it's Structured Query Language. Okay, it's a querying language and it's a very structured language. So what does it mean? So it's actually an independent language. Okay, it was developed since 1970s or 80s. SAS and SQL or the interface of SQL within SAS was developed since 1985 and all. People started using SQL language within SAS. Now the aim of SQL mostly, apart from, now keep aside your SAS environment, you just think about SQL. So it's an, as I said, it's an independent language. It is termed as structured query language. Now structured, the word, it's very simple for you in English terms. It's like a very structured way of writing. And when we say it's query, so query means we are actually writing program as if a question to be answered from your particular data environment which you are having your data saved. So actually this is a language where you are connecting to databases directly and you are querying the databases at that database level itself and you're fetching the information. Okay. So the databases like Teradata, Oracle, even Sybase and very other databases can be used here for querying your querying your databases. So when we are working into SAS environment also, we never always use SAS files because we never save most of the SAS files into SAS environment. Because as we discussed earlier also, we are working with huge data files, huge data sets from various environments, from various maybe departments for an organization. So when it is a clinical research data, it's a huge data depending on what study we are performing, case histories and all those stuffs. There are huge rows and columns. So in that case, the tables are never saved in SAS environment because SAS is not a data warehouse system. We have this information of tables and all saved at database level. Most of the time in clinical industry or even in other industries, databases used are Oracle. Apart from Oracle, the huge database people invest is Teradata. And apart from that, we also have Hadoop. Okay. So apart from Hadoop, there are SAP also people use it as databases. People use Sybase as database. So there are many databases, okay, which are softwares which are saving tables, huge tables. And they require manpower also who can maintain this database and tables at that level. But when we are working into our environment of SAS, we have tables in Oracle or Teradata. We cannot write a data step and write a libname statement or always use proc import to import this data because this data has millions of rows and thousands of columns. So that is impossible because if you try to do that, your system will hang. Okay, even if you're working on a remote servers, your system will hang, and even if it hangs and it gets connected or you import it, but within SAS environment there are certain setups where the server goes slow and the other people who are working at the same time, for them the things will not work appropriately. It will hang or it will corrupt certain files. So to avoid all those disturbance, most of the time from SAS environment, we use an access type of software, which is internally built within the softwares, which connects to this databases by using this query language. And when we query, we never take in the table into SAS. We query the table at Oracle and Teradata itself, and we fetch in that information in SAS. That's why it's called as structured query language. So it's an independent language which one can implement within SAS environment. So how to write that as per following your SAS syntax rules and all, that is what we'll be learning. Okay, so that's what the next slide is, that there are various languages in SAS which we can incorporate. So it's telling SAS and other languages. Yes, we do have programming languages like Python, SQL, R, Java, Lua, REST. So it's telling that this language or this programming language data or programming languages can connect into SAS to perform your various data related activities. So including this, we have SQL also one of them, where you can write SQL programs within SAS environment to perform your data querying activities. So in addition to working with other types of data, SAS also enables you to use other programming languages and APIs. So as per our programming, learning SAS programming process, we know how to access data, explore, prepare, we know analysis and exporting also. Apart from this, you can also query your data by using SQL. So SQL can perform all these tasks for your data step and various proc step which you got introduced to perform right from data accessing to exporting. Same process we can do it by writing SQL queries to generate tables and for reports. All right. So SQL and data step. Now, as I said, you data step and various proc steps which you have learned earlier is doing the same task. SQL is also an independent in a single procedure you can perform the same task. So if you are telling that data step also is doing the same and SQL is doing the same, let's see what it is. So it's telling SQL language of most database management system defined by international standards. It's available in SAS as a procedure of SQL. Can be used as an alternative to data step or certain proc steps. Syntax describes the described output. So what the statements means, third point, you'll understand one will see some of the steps of proc SQL. Okay. So in case it's telling if you have SQL experience, you'll be excited to learn how it is integrated with SAS. If you are new to SQL, you'll learn more basics to add your SAS tool belt. So SQL is an independent language which one can use it, and it's a very sweet language. Even I like it, and it's very easy way of writing a program within SAS environment. So to begin with, SQL syntax, as it said, though it's an independent language, we are incorporating into SAS environment. So when you're incorporating into SAS environment, so you have to follow SAS syntax rules, correct? So as per SAS rules, it is starting with a step called as procedure, SQL. So it's a procedure of your SAS where it is going to be used as your SQL procedure. So see, it's telling within SQL, you have clauses. And look at the syntax. When all the clauses are end, your statement ends with semicolon. So what does this mean is, so for example, when I'm into my session, so I'm just connecting my SAS studio, please hold. All right, so I've connected to my data files. So when we are working into your PG1 table, okay, so we know there are certain data sets in our one of our permanent libraries called SAS help library. So initially, if you know, if you want to check your data, you write most of the time you use procprint. Procprint data equal to you write, you have this table SAS help dot. Suppose you use this data set called as class. Correct. So you have SAS help library, which you have class or class equals. Here we don't have class, we have par. So we have that into our PG1. PG1 dot, you can have say class birthdays. Correct. So you have this data file with us. Normally, when you know very well, so when you are selecting this whole code and you are executing it, you know what procprint does. It gives you the list report. So what is the list report? It gives you by default all the columns and all the rows. It lists into your output window, right? And default it show you obvious. So if the same program has been written with your base SAS procedure of procprint, if you are using SQL language, you start same thing with a procedure called proc SQL. Within this, you have a select statement. So select statement here, I use asterisk. So what asterisk does, I'll explain. So within select, you have various clauses. Okay, so select is the statement where you are asking SAS to start your query for querying particular inputs of your table. So which table? So your input table or your a table on which you are going to query this query is you're giving the clause called as from. From, and you have to provide that which table we are working. So because it's your SAS environment, you have to follow this SAS programming concept. Same like your dataset name pg1 dot birth class or birth date, sorry. And I end my statement. See where I'm ending my statement? I'm ending it here and I'm giving quit. So what does this means? That select is a statement and within say select we have various clauses. Among one of them you are getting introduced to your from clause. Now when I execute this proc SQL, now see it's a procedure of SQL where it will process your input table. So what it's telling, by default, it's giving all the columns and all the rows. But here with SQL, you are not getting default output with the default obvious column. So in case if you want to see that, there is a way of providing that option also, but I'll show you right away. In proc SQL, you write the option called as number. So it will give you the row number for your output of your proc SQL. So what it is, it's showing you the same result as it was with procprint. Correct? So your base SAS procedure procprint, same result where it is listing all the columns and all the 19 rows from your table. Agreed? So when you see your log, it's simply telling this procedure has been used. So what is this select statement? Now in my report, I don't want to see all the columns. I want to see only specific columns. So how do I select the columns here? In SQL, I select the column by giving the column name. Okay, so what are the column names? So I have the columns called name, sex, age, height, weight, and birthday. I want only name. See, the columns are separated by comma in this language because it's a querying language where you query databases. Now this is a SAS table. Okay, so we are working on your input sources SAS table. So here we are working as if it's a database. So name, and here you give another column called as birth date, and you want the sex also. So you, as the order you provide in this select clause, the same order the column will be queried in your output. So what this tells is select this columns and query these columns from your input table. And the select is a statement which consists of various clauses. Now I want to filter my data. Now again, you know, now when I execute this proc SQL, I get the query result for only 3 columns and all 19 rows. Agreed? So it's same like a proc print. Only the difference with procprint, now what you will do is you want to select the columns with var, you give the names in the same order as you want in your output, and you write these columns separated by space and not comma. Correct? So it will give you the same result. See? So I have the first report for procprint and the second report for SQL. So this is your procprint report. See obvious column, same, and see your SQL output. Correct? Now I want to subset. Now I don't want this report for male sex type of people. So I write another clause within a select clauses, where clause, and where clauses doing the same task as we do with base SAS to subset your rows. So I say sex is equal to, suppose if I write capital N. Remember, once you finish writing all your clauses, then only your select statement ends with this semicolon. So I write this independently here. I have this habit to give it here. If you want, you can finish the statement giving the semicolon here also. But this proc SQL ends with quit always. Why quit? I'll explain you that also. You see your data is now getting filtered, but I doubt whether it's coming. Yes, because I have given uppercase M, but in case if I've written it as a small case m, again it's the same thing because we are working in a SAS environment. Small case m, if the data is not there in your data value, it will not generate the report. So your log will also tell that no rows were selected. Why? Because there is no small m in your data. Remember? Same thing we were doing it earlier also. So now when I execute this, I get the output where my data is subsetted on rows with a clause of where and with a clause of from, your input table is getting queried. So now in case I want to apply format on birth date, I never include an independent statement of format here because there is no statement like this with procedure. There is always a single statement, select, and within select you have multiple clauses. So if I want to apply format on birth date, in front of this column itself, I give format equal to, and I write the format I want it as date 9 dot maybe. Okay, so this is my format as per I want it. I simply execute. So this is what my data is representing the rows with format. Okay, so this is how your SQL query is going to query your input source of table. So now here we never call this as SAS data set, but we call it as SAS table. Why? Because it's a querying language for database. So this is a database table from your SAS environment, and we term it as table now. All right. So this is how your SQL works. So this under select, you have multiple clauses, and this select statement ends here. So why it's ending with quit? So in a single, now in case if I have another procedure or query to be done for writing proc SQL, I may write select all from, suppose tg1 dot, you have class data, or do we have class, or we have class teachers or class test, whatever it is. Let me first check. You have class teachers. So let's check this. All right, and I give this. All right. So now see, again, this will give you default list report. Okay. So in case now you are writing this query, but instead of writing an independent query, because it's a select statement where I can include this with your previous selectors. So what happens with this single proc SQL? You have multiple select statements where you can end it, because in a single proc you have various groups of select statement can be executed and quit with a single quit. So now when I execute this proc SQL, it will query your single query of your select statement independently and give you the output. See, this is the result for your class teachers, and this is the result for your earlier query, which is this query. So individual select clause can be, multiple individual select clause can be executed with your single proc SQL Hence, it needs to end with quit and not with run. All fine? Understood? Okay, so this is what it's simply telling. The select statement is querying these columns, and under select you have various clauses. So you got introduced to from clause, where clause. So there is a group by clause also, and there is a having clause. So order by clause also. So what order by does, could group by does, we'll all see later on. But this is just an introduction for you for SQL. So that is your slides 10. So select statement is also termed as a query statement. So it queries columns from table and it has building blocks of clauses where from clause, where clause, order by clause. Okay, and it ends with semicolon here, and the whole proc SQL ends with quit. And that is why they have put this into an independent square or independent query, which is highlighted as a separate square because it's querying a separate table. So within the opening statement of proc SQL and quit, you can have multiple select statements like this, which independently execute their query. So your query consists of clauses. There must be at least a select clause and a from clause in a query. The semicolon is at the end of query. So select statement, as I stated earlier, is termed as query. All right. Is this syntax clear with this explanation? Any doubts on this part? Yes?
It's clear. We
Great.
better do one independent activity.
Yes. Once you start working, you'll get that confidence. But at this point, I hope it's understood how select or a query works with proc SQL. All right. The
Is
same
it
thing.
order by? Is it like sorting
Yes.
sort of thing?
Order, yes, I'll explain you that also. I'll come to it. We'll go step by step. I just made you introduced with some of the clauses. Okay, so see, same thing. You're selecting columns separated by columns and comma in your select clause, and you're applying a format on verdict from pg1.class quit. So only these columns will get queried, and as per the order you write in select statement, the same order it will follow to display. And this format will be applied only on birth date column. Okay, so it's coming with this format. So this is the input source of your table on which the query is been queried. And select is the clause where you can select the columns and query them. All right.
So the
So
format you said, right, for the birthday. So if you want to format anything else, like we have to put it in front of that, like that column.
absolutely. So moving ahead in our program, in case if I add height also. Now this height, I want it to be formatted. I write format equal to and width and decimal place. I write 4 point, now no need of writing 4, 3.2 suppose. So see, so this format will be only for height. Okay, understood?
Yeah.
So into your PG1, if you see your original table for birthday, let's check what is the original width and will this width work, because we know height is a numeric with some 2 digits value or something. So its length, it has format no original height. So it's okay. So let's work with this width. I don't want this query executed because it will give me the output. Let's work it. So see, you get height. Now, what is the width you have provided? 3.2. But if you see your original table with the values, your width is more than 3. Okay. Hence, the current width which you have provided, you are telling total width should be 3, including your 2 decimal places. But your original data values is not having, because its original width is 3. Okay. So it's not fitting us, or it's not providing you a proper way of width which you have provided to show the value. Hence, it's trying to fit the values as per the width is. So it's rounding up the value. In case you want the decimal places also, just increase your width, and you can give this width is suppose 4.1 or 3.1. It's the original width, I think. So let's give 4.1 and export. See, got it?
Yes.
Fine. Yeah. So in case now you know now what where is doing. So I'll just comment out this. Now this query, if you are executing it, so it's giving you all the rows. Now you see your data is not in a specific order, but you want it in a specific order of suppose sex. Okay, so let's make use of order by clause. So it's a keyword. See, it's coming with blue. Of course, there is a space between order and by. And I say I want to order it by sex column. Fine. So now when I execute this, see the output. All the values of by default of your sex column, alphabetically it will arrange. So it's same like your prop sort. So by default it arranges alphabetically in ascending order of your sex column. So alphabetically F. So all F values are stacked together and N values are stacked together. All right. So in case if you want to select all the people who have height greater than suppose 60, whatever 60 inches or 60 what the parameter could be. So instead of this, I may write where height is greater than 60. Okay. So we are subsetting our result now, or we are subsetting your query where you get the rows which are greater than height of 60 inches maybe or 60 centimeters of it, whatever, all this. But within it, your data is in specific order. Now this is by default in ascending order. If you want in a descending order, you need to write a descending keyword as a short form only in front of a specific column. In prop sort, we were writing the whole keyword descending before the column name, but here we write it post sex. So hence, it will now show you the result in a descending order of your column of sex, which is all M and F is been displayed. All fine. So this is how various clauses works for every query. All right. So fine. Again, the same thing. Yes. In case see now they are converting this height. They are converting this height where you have this calculation doing that height into 2.54 so that it is converted into centimeter. So earlier, if you want your report to be generated with a new column where the calculations or some expressions has to be done, you remember you cannot do in your base SAS with procedures, but you need to first write your data step, create that column, and then you can generate the report. I hope you remember. Yes, the same thing with prop SQL. So for example, I write data step, I write new class set eg1 dot. So it's class birth date, correct? And you want this height in centimeter, right? You write this column, and this column is you want your current height to be multiplied with 2.54, correct? Is this the parameter of converting? Yes. So this is what assignment statement earlier we were writing. And then he was making use of this new column to be selected into this cockpit. And then you was able to see the report. So for a single new column to be generated, you were writing with base as two steps. One was your data step and second was your proc step. Now I have a error into one of my step. Let me check where is the error. I see height spelling is not correct. That's why it's not able to calculate this height. And because I have selected here, it's giving me an error.
Class spelling also wrong. The first one, data, new class.
That's fine. This is a new data set I'm creating. You can give any
Okay.
name. The spell is not correct. Fine,
Okay.
but the input is fine. You have to give the specific spell. All right. But if you want, you can correct it. I just wanted to show you that how this works. So see, for a single thing, you are writing two steps with base SAS, correct? What was the two steps? One was your data step, which included a new column to be created. Correct. So it's telling new column created. Already it has 6 columns and one column is added, which is seventh one is your height in centimeter. And procedure print has been output. So because you have selected or you have selected these columns, you are getting name, age, height, weight. So this is the new class. Okay, data set. Okay, and this is result. So did we execute proc print? No. So let's execute proc print. So when you execute this proc print, it will give you name, sex, height, and yeah. Let me check the spelling. Input data source I need to change here because I've used my original table. Now, let me do the same thing with your data and text. So the result comes with height. The same if I want to have the intention, I have the procedure. I can do it where I can make use of my assignment in my query language of my select statement itself, telling height should be multiplied with this conversion with 2.54, and I give this column name with a keyword. It's as means it's like you are performing this assignment and you are giving this column name as a new column name. But in case if I do not write this as, what it does, it just understand the output, you'll able to know what I'm trying to tell you. So it's querying, it's performing the assignment or the expression which you have provided. But because it's a new expression, it's not an existing column. It is creating a column without a name. All fine? So in case if you want to give this column a name in your query result, you use a keyword as and you give it as height in centimeter. Right? So this is the new column name. So this will be resulted in your output. Right? All right. So this is how in select clause itself, you can write an expression to create a new column and you can also format the same. The same thing they have showed in slide. So expression is provided and you give it a name for that column with a keyword as. So it's called as a computed column. So the same thing with your data step you were doing to create a computed column. You were writing an assignment statement and to see it in your result, you write an independent procedure print. So two steps were doing the same task. A single steps of proc SQL is giving you the same result. All right. Okay. So it's telling here, open this activity A01 for lesson number 7. What are the similarities and differences in the syntax of the two steps? Run the program. What are the similarities and difference in the result? So it's a proc print and here it's proc SQL. Same thing. Go ahead, open this program. A01, execute, and we'll discuss. Of course, we have already discussed it, but let's open. Done?
Ashwini, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's what we are combining the where statement and format statement, and we are computing the column in SQL language.
It's not of yeah, it's the same thing which you, it's just trying to tell you the same thing, that what you do with base SAS procedures, the same you can do it with ProfSQL. Okay.
Yeah.
So where are the similarities and differences in syntax of the two steps? So is it with both print procedure or print whatever? So which topic or which one you are telling is? So this is the correct answer. You can read it. We have already discussed. So it's telling both procedures, print and SQL provide input table name, column lists the columns and format. Print uses multiple statements to specify input data and report contents. ProfSQL uses one statement. Print separates columns with spaces, whereas SQL separates columns with commas. Print ends with a run statement, SQL ends with quit. SQL allows computed columns to be queried during your query in select statement itself. But with print, we cannot do that. For that, your table which you are going to process in print should have existing this new column called computed column. Then only it will show you into your output. So what are the similarities and differences in result? Allows rows and selected columns to be included in both the reports, which we had seen. Whereas ProcPrint adds obvious column by default. With SQL, it does not come. So in case if you want to see the row numbers, we can use this option of ProcSQL, this option number. Then only you can see the number. So by default, it never gives you the observation. So no, we see the terminology difference also, because it's a procedure ProcPrint, which is a base SAS procedure. It uses the terminologies of SAS called observation. But because SQL is query language on databases, so databases is mostly it uses the concepts, or it uses all the terminologies of your database features, relational database and all those. Hence, the terminology it uses rows and columns and no more observations and variables. Are you getting the difference? Yes.
Yeah.
So you can try this option number with this proc SQL statement. So how do you filter the rows now? Same where statement. Most of the languages use where to subset your data. SAS also uses where. And of course, your query language with SQL, there also we use where. So where is to subset your data. So you're subsetting the data with age greater than 14. And order by, what does it does? It orders the result into a specific order. So if you want to do same with your base SAS, first you need to write proc sort, create an output table which is ordered, and then use it in your ProcPrint to generate the report. The single task with base, you write two steps. With proc SQL or with SQL language, you write with single step. Agreed? So see here, they are arranging the data into descending order of height. So all height with maximum or with highest height is been ordered at first place, and then followed with small heights. Same demo. So you can try this. Include these two new clauses in your select, where and order by in your process code and see the result.
Yes, Ashwin.
All right. Same thing is in this demonstration. So open this demo D01. Is it? It's the same thing, I suppose. D01. Do you have anything apart from what they have asked you? What you have to type is something to be done by yourself. 7D01. So go ahead with the second part of this demo. Work on this eg.storm panel. Work on this. So this should be ideally your demo code. Done?
Ashwini, what is
Yes.
the prop case doing in the result?
Prop case is a function, right, which is actually going to make the proper case of your column or a name where the first letter is uppercase, rest all will be in small case.
But in the original table, anyway, the first letter is uppercase only.
You may have somewhere maybe it's small case or something. Therefore, they're asking you to make it, or somewhere you might be having capital also. All the values are uppercase. So you want it to proper case, maybe. That's why they're doing it. So it's which original table? Storm underscore final, right?
Sorry, I'm
Is it the
checking
input
in.
table?
I'm checking in birth date.
Try it with birth date. Birth date we have the same. It's first see the
Yeah,
original
yeah.
column.
All the letters are capped.
Letters
Yeah.
are in caps. So we want prop case. So only the first letter should be uppercase, rest are in small case.
Okay. Done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Others, Shanmuga, Priyanka, Swarupa.
Ashwini, I'm getting error. 1 minute. I'm checking that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm also.
Priyanka.
Ashwini, even in your from and where are not highlighted as, or you have selected as blue.
See?
No, they are selected as blue. Why is my going away as blue? Check.
Check whether you might have given somewhere a comma or a semicolon. You might have given comma post max wind mile. Once the columns have been provided, at the end, no need of giving a comma sign because these are independent clauses under single select.
In the fifth point, they have given to ordered by max wind and by name.
Okay, so same as by name also. So what you can do is, you can give it as name comma max wind, and they want max wind into descending order.
Yeah. So the
So
ordering
only
of yeah.
ordering they have said here something. No.
Ordering of the name will be in alphabetical, right? Then.
Yes, first it will order the values of a name in alphabetic, and then within the name the values for max wind mile per hour for descending. Same like your prop sort of will do.
Ashwini, can I share my screen?
Yes. See, you did not give comma in the column names.
1 minute.
See, in select statement, the column should be separated by comma. So after max wind mile per hour comma, then you have
Okay.
to give start date.
Here.
Yeah,
Okay.
comma. Columns are separated by comma.
Okay. Is this fine?
Yes, now you select and submit.
Again.
Okay, so it's highlighting for name. Order. See, it should be again when you're giving any columns, the columns has to be separated by comma.
Okay.
So after giving max wind mile per hour descending, comma name. After descending in order by,
Here.
yes, after because it's highlighting, it's in order by, you have this comma.
Like
It's
this.
not provided. Yes.
Okay.
So
Should
in
I-
SQL language, yeah, whenever you're selecting the columns, they have to be separated by comma.
Comma. Okay. I got it. Okay.
Got it?
Yes.
See your name and see your
The
maximum.
fifth point. The point ordering is first by maximum wind and then by name they have given.
Okay, so if it is given that way, so I'll correct myself.
So we have to put the name up the last, right?
So I just remove this. and I give name. That's it.
Yeah, but ordering the name, how it is ordering, I'm not getting from the result.
It will
From
first result the values for max, min, mile in the descending
Okay.
order, and within
Okay.
that order, it will arrange the values for name in ascending order.
Okay. Yeah.
Got it? So
Yes.
it is grouping all the values for your max, min, mile. So there is no repetition, but it is giving descending order, and then it's giving in this values.
Okay.
It's same like your base SAS proc sort. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Swarupa, Priyanka, what's your status?
Done.
And Priyanka, any errors?
Just running it. I think it is fine now. Yeah, done.
Done? Great. This will be becoming, all of you will be becoming good programmers. Don't worry. So with this demo, and it's followed with activity. So it's open this activity A02. Complete SQL query to display event and cost from pg1.storm damage. Format the values to cost of cost, because it's cost. Now you know you have to cost means it's a currency. So use a format accordingly. So use a format which we know, which is dollar or euro, whichever you find. Use dollar only. Add a new column named season that extracts the year from date. Add a where clause to return rows where cost is greater than 25 billion. Add an order by clause to arrange rows by descending cost, which Tom had the highest cost. Now, just an heads, look into my screen, everyone. So you need to follow the order of writing your clauses in this order itself. You cannot move this order where you first write where, then you write order, then you write from. No, this order will not work. The order of your clauses should follow select, followed with from, followed with where, and then order. All right, everyone. So it's not like your base size. You can write any statements in any order in the procedures. No, you have to follow this order in process. Okay, go ahead with this activity.
SQL.
Hurricane Katrina.
Yes.
Is it
Others?
Hurricane?
Yes. Others?
Katrina.
Yes. Is it? Are you aligned with Nilima? What she's getting the result? Others?
Yeah, select from where by.
So this is what it's telling. Horizon pattern, and you have formatted with maximum width $16 for your cost, and you can write this and you get this report. So highest one which costed the damage, the name of the hurricane or the event was Hurricane Katrina. All right, everyone.
I have formatted dollar as 9, so it is showing. Okay.
No, but look at the role, look at the values, because they had said
Okay.
cost should be 25 million. So according to this zeros, you
Means
can give
okay.
maximum role.
Yeah. Ashwini?
Yes,
Ashwini?
yes, tell me.
Is CDM different from clinical SAS?
CDM is data management, clinical
Okay.
data management. So,
That is
so that is the stage where your data has been managed, cleansed, and then it is sent for analysis. So we are one step ahead of data management. We sit
in
top of data management, SAS,
with the clinical SAS or the general SAS?
clinical SAS.
Okay. And in the clinical SAS, we are going to learn that ADAM.
See, you will get introduced to what clinical research is. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Then you'll get introduced to graphs. Now you know, but simple again. We'll have a revision of graphs, reports, tablets, and STD.
Okay.
All right, done with this activity, everyone. Okay, now in case the report which we are generating, now in most of the procedures we saw frequency means that you can direct the output to your data files, correct? Or you can create a data out of it. Same thing. Now here, if you want this query result to be saved as a table, before a query is getting executed, that is before your select statement, you can introduce a statement called create table. Okay, I give this table name some name and I write as. So see what it's telling. Create table, your table name. Okay, now you will be creating this as a temporary table. By default, it will save in work library. If you want to save it in any permanent library, you can refer its permanent library also before this name. As. So as means this table has to be created as this query result is been executed. So when this query is been executed, so instead of directing the output of this query into a result window, it will be saved as a table. So you will not get a output report of this query. So now when I execute, so that query is not at all going to direct it to your output result window, but it is going to direct it as a table. So see, it's telling work dot season is created, but the result is been directed as a table. All right, understood? So this is how one can always create. One can always create your result. So this is what you can write it. I don't know what's happening. Okay. So create table work dot my class as. So as means this table has to be created for this query result. As a result, it should be saved as a table. So creating table at the beginning of the query returns reports into table. If you write this statement post query, it will have no effect because this query will execute first and then this statement will get read. So in SAS, if you want this query result to be saved as a table, it has to be written before your select clause or select statement. All right. So try this by giving this select table, give a table name as with this. Just write this statement. No semicolon here because this as means it has to be followed that this result has to be saved as table. Done?
Yeah.
Very simple syntax. Okay. So in SQL, you can also perform a data management where in case if you want to delete any table, simply write proc SQL, drop your table and give a table. So a particular library has to be cleaned with a particular for a space and you want to delete table, you can always write drop statement within proc SQL to delete the table. So this is helpful if you are working with PBMS tables that won't allow you to overwrite existing tables. Okay, so this is one syntax which you get introduced as a statement to drop that whole table will be dropped, that is deleted. So joining tables with using SQL, it's like same what we learned or we'll be learning macro in your PG2 about merging the tables and all, because we know in a single table will not have always all the information. So you need to collate your information from various tables. So in databases also you can do the same thing by joining the tables. So we'll see simple how in SQL one can join the tables. So you have two tables called
Drop
class.
table,
Yes.
drop table
Yes.
statement where it has to be at the end of the
You can write
program.
it as an independent statement as a proc. SQL you can write independently and you can drop it after a table is created.
Oh,
Or
okay.
once you finish with working with a table and you no more want that table, you can write an independent statement of proc SQL and within it you can drop it. It's just to give you a heads that you can clear the space by dropping the whole table or deleting the whole table with proc SQL.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
So join. So it's telling you can join the two tables on the basis of common variable and you can select only matching rows. So you can combine this on name column and you can combine on the basis of name to select only matching. So see, Alfred is in teachers, Alfred is in class update. So only this matching row is been selected to create a single row coming from both the tables, the information. So sex, age, height, weight is coming from update, whereas grade and teacher is coming from class teacher. So you get a single column, or sorry, single row by combining these two tables with single column, which is matching column on matching rows. Same goes with Barbara, Alice. Now Carol is not in this table, so that will not come here, but Henry is in both the tables, so it's coming here. So only students in both input tables are included. So this type of joining, where it is joining both the tables, but only matching rows are selected, is called inner join. So you use this syntax in from clause. You write pg1.class update. You write a syntax inner join on pg1.class teacher. Okay, so you are joining this to table on what criteria? On common column criteria, telling both the table has name in common. All right. So this will be joining the table to give you the output as per expected. So I'll just give you this example. So copy, I'm just showing you the same code here. I will not go in more detail because more in detail we'll be learning in SQL itself. So see, I'm going to use in my from clause two tables to be joined, and I'm asking it to be joined with inner join. So inner join is a keyword where it will be selecting only matching rows from both the tables. And we are telling SAS to select or query only these columns. And you will be joining these two tables on the basis of common variable class update dot name. That means you are giving this column name, telling with two level names, telling which table and column, which table and column. So we are telling that class update dot name is a column coming from your class update, which is common with class teacher table, and a column is name. So we are joining on this two, where you are telling to join it on selecting only common rows, which is inner join on both this table. So when I run this query, you will get the result only matching rows coming from both the tables on the basis of common variable, which is name. Now every time you are writing name, column name dot table name dot column name. So this is a short name of your table, therefore it's feasible for us to write it like this. But the other way which you can give this instruction is, while providing in your from clause which tables you are querying, you can write here alias for your column or your table, telling this table name you give it as update. So you write u. Okay, you can write a character or a name, and this you give it as suppose t. So what does this mean? That whenever this table you want to refer further in your query, you can refer it with a alias name called as u, and this table you can refer in your query with an alias name as t. So say instead of writing class update, I write u dot name, and instead of class teacher, I write t dot name. All right. So same thing is here. All right, and I'll work on this. Execute. Done. So you get common rows coming from both the tables. So when you check your log, it's telling your proc SQL is executed and it's used. So result is you're getting common rows from both the tables, and only columns grade and age and teacher names are coming. Why? Because you have selected only those columns. All right, so this is called joining your tables. So we'll see this in detail in your SQL when we'll start your advanced SAS. Same thing they are telling you. So instead of writing the whole table name, you give the alias for your table name also. So in case if you want to see the columns in your result also, so what you can do is, I can write, either I can select from any table, I write u dot clean into my output. Okay. U dot c dot. And from which table now the name will be coming into my output? From update, class update table. I get name column from class update, and these are all matching rows coming from both the tables. Understood? So this you can also try it later on. No need of wasting your time currently, because we'll see this in detail. I'll just give you this code with alias names. All right, so you can copy this and save this on your one of your code where you can use it later on when you're practicing or revising. That's it. So see, you can provide alias for your table names with in your from clause where you are providing your input table. There itself you can give its alias, and you can use it in your further query. That's it. Nothing much. But if you want, you can open this activity A03. Define alias for storm and storm basin code from your clause. Use one table alias to qualify basin in the select clause. Complete the on expression to match rows where basin is equal in your two tables. Use the table alias to qualify basin in the expression. Run the step. So it's activity A03. So I'll come into my activities folder. It's activity A03 for lesson 7. Is it the same? No, I think it's A04. Yes. So it's inner join on your DOM basin code. I give this an alias as basin they are telling, correct? And this as I gave as codes. Okay, so these are maybe your alias names. So it's telling use table alias qualify basin in your select clause. So complete on expression to match rows when basin is equal in the two tables. On clause, you write basin dot. So what is common in them? Names, correct? Correct, people? Is which table we are using? Storm summary and basin code. So let's check your input table. So storm summary. So what is common in them? Let's check. Region, type, park name. Oh, I'm looking into entry summary. It should be storm summary. Yeah. Season name, basin type. So basin is the common column itself, and basin codes. So basin codes. Yes, basin is the column which is common. So coming to this activity, so I give this as B, this as C, and I tell SAS that I'm going to join on. So joining criteria, I'm telling B dot basin is equal to C dot basin. Correct? And in the column, the season is coming from which table? It's coming from storm summary table. So moving back into your activity, I write this is coming from B dot, it's B dot, it's B dot season, correct? Basin, see here, sorry, it's here. Summary, storm summary. So storm summary, what alias name you have given? B. So change this to B dot basin. So this is what your activity is. That's it. So basin is coming from both the tables. So we have to select only from a single table. Hence we write B dot C. So where is this? Yeah, something we had missed. Excellent. So this is your result. Done? So you get common rows. So did you work with this activity? Do you get the same thing? The code?
What do we have to do in the select region? I didn't get it.
See here, they had given the column name, na summary, storm summary dot basin.
Yeah.
So instead of writing
Yeah.
the table name, summary storm
Oh,
summary dot basin, you replace with its alias b dot basin.
okay. Yes.
Fine.
Yeah.
Swarupa, Shanmuga, Priyanka.
Yes, Ashwini.
Okay, great. That's it. And in case now you want to upcase all the values, because you know in one of your table, the values for basin are in small case. So if you upcase, you can write this way also. You can upcase function on your on clause so that both the table values can now match on basin. So you can write like this on upcase s dot basin. So your s they have given the name is for stock summary. All right, so this is also possible. Okay, so let's compare. So data step, it's telling it provides more control of reading, writing, and manipulating data. Create multiple tables in one step, includes looping and array. Whereas with proc SQL, it is generating the result query as per ANSI standards. Now, ANSI is a standard of it's called American National Standards of Institutes, which have put forward certain rules to generate your databases output as per some rules. So you this SQL which you are generating the report via SAS, that means SQL was incorporated into SAS and the reports is generated as per ANSI rules. The code can be more streamlined also and can manipulate, summarize, and sort your data in one step. So data step and proc SQL each have unique strengths. So they are not at all replacement for any of your steps in future. So always keep in mind, both are strong and are competitive at their own way, but they are not a replacement of each other. All right. So more of details with data step manipulation will be seeing in your upcoming Proc 2 sessions, whereas SQL in details will be learning in your essentials of your SQL in advance. All right. So with this, we end our day. See to it, if you want to gain a deeper understanding of SQL, you can read these examples in your documentations of your SAS help. You can get a tour of techniques to improve SQL efficiencies in SS, and you can also combine SQL and data step processing in single programming also. So this is a different tool altogether called SDS2 programming. Okay, so that's a different training altogether. But if you want to read it in more detail, you can view this link where you get connected to its documentation. So with this, we have done with your PG1. So your next class will be starting with PG. All right. So with this, we have done with our programming one. So I would request you to revise your topics. Yeah, tell me.
PG2 also as a part of basis.
Yes, PG2 is as a part of base SAS. If you remember the very first class we have discussed, base SAS includes P1, PG1, and PG2.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So yes, discussions if you want with SAS, you can always be a part of this discussion communities. You can connect this, and there are various trainings also with SAS. That's it. All right, so let's end your day. In more details of your data step manipulation techniques, we'll be starting with PG2. Prior your class begins, I'll be sending you the required material for PG2. All right. So with this, we'll end our day. Thanks for attending. Have a good night. Take care. Bye. And enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye. Have a good day.